What's up everybody, Matt from TGI here bringing you my review of Life is Strange Episode 2 played on the PlayStation 4. So very quickly I will say this is episode number 2, as I just said, of a 5-episode series. If you haven't played the first episode, I wouldn't recommend watching this video, but what I would do is recommend watching this video up here, which is my review for the first episode, which is the first review I did, and from there you can kind of get a gauge of how the game all sets up and everything, and kind of whether or not it's something for you. This one is more to kind of not just talk about the game, but also to move on and kind of explain kind of how the episode as a whole kind of stood up versus maybe the first episode and kind of as a whole. So not going into huge details because of the fact that I did mention it all in my first video, but Life is Strange is a game where you follow Max Caulfield. She's a teenage girl. She's currently at high school in like kind of a small town city with her childhood best friend called Chloe, and there's a lot of strange goings on in the town, so the two of them are kind of teaming up together to kind of take on the world and just kind of see if they can get to the bottom of kind of what's going on, because weird shit is happening. And if weird's not enough, we should also mention that Max, she can time travel, or not necessarily time travel, but she can rewind time and then kind of recreate the timeline or history, as it were. So with that being said, I suppose the best thing to do is talk about here the story without going into huge spoilers, which is kind of difficult because it's all very, very story driven. But if the story in the first episode was kind of setting the scene for everything, episode number 2 does a great job of progressing the story to the next level. It's always very difficult to kind of make sure that you kind of move this story along nicely, and the pacing of this story felt really good. We are introduced to a lot more of the secondary characters that we saw briefly in the first episode, but for example Kate, who we kind of met as a girl in the first episode, she is at the centre of this episode. A lot revolves around her, and you know, that's nice to see other characters being introduced. We see not quite so much of David, but we find maybe a little bit more about him, and we also find a bit more out about Chloe's mum as well. So the game is still very much like the first game. You know, the graphics are still very okay. They're very, you know, it's not going to win any awards, but the game's a reasonably good looking game. Where it really stands up is on the soundtrack. The soundtrack is still fantastic. Episode 2 opens up with a great song, just like episode 1 did. The music in this game really pulls at my heartstrings. It's just the perfect kind of music for this game, and music that I can really appreciate as well. So top notch on the soundtrack for this game. The voice acting has also stepped up a notch. The first episode I mentioned how some of the kind of lines felt a bit awkward, and maybe the voice actors weren't kind of quite there with their delivery, but maybe they found their stride a lot more now, or they're a bit more, I don't know what it is, but we didn't have any kind of awkward lines in this. It all flowed really nicely. The dialogue was good and really interesting as well, and we kind of find out a lot more about the story of kind of Max now. She's kind of working out what these time travel powers mean. We still don't know exactly why she can do it. Hopefully we will find out at some point, because it needs to be explained. But we also start to see the effects of her rewinding time, and not only that, but also the choices she's made. This game is very similar to Telltale games where you have to make decisions at certain moments, and those decisions will adversely affect you in either a positive or a negative way. I've already experienced a couple of instances where my decisions in the first game or the first episode have come back and kind of bit me in the ass a little bit. I've been speaking to other people that have played this game, and they're already experiencing completely different things, which I really, really like, because if we compare this game to like a Telltale game, which is kind of, I suppose, the closest thing that it's going to be compared to. Telltale, although you have different choices, they all very much kind of stay along the same kind of beaten path, as it were. But this Life is Strange from DontNod already looks in that regard that it could be trumping Telltale in the fact that we already see things happening that are completely different, and again, no spoilers, but the ending to this game is huge. It's such a big ending. I've been speaking to people, and the way the game, this episode ends, can be completely different depending on the choices you make throughout the episode, and I'm really intrigued to see how episode 3 works out, because we've effectively now got two completely different storylines based on what happens at the end of this game, and it was a fantastic cliffhanger as well. Really good. It makes me want episode 3 now to find out, which is it's a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. Good because obviously I'm hooked. I mean, I'm already on the season pass, I'm committed, but I really can't wait. But these episodes are still taking quite a while in between them. It's kind of 6 to 8 weeks, which I think is a little bit long. Personally, I'd like to see these kind of episodic games maybe be a bit tighter. Resident Evil Revelations 2, they nailed it. Week. Whereas this one, I'd say maybe up to a month is acceptable. But, if it's 6 to 8 weeks a time, 5 episodes, that's well over half a year to get the game, and it has the possibility of maybe losing some people along the way. Now, if the story continues to be as good as it is, I don't think it will lose too many people, because it is that good, I think. With the exception of the lip syncing, which was a big problem in the first one I mentioned, that's still there. What you're hearing does not correspond with the movements. They're not going to fix that. I don't think that's something you can just fix in the periods that they have. But you begin to just put up with it and accept it. And that aside though, the story is fantastic, and like I said, the music is fantastic, and it's gone from episode 1 where I gave it a 7.5 saying it was a good experience, to now this episode I would give it an 8, because I would say it's now on the cusp of being really great. I think it's there, and I really can't wait to see how this plays out, and if they keep moving in the right direction, then it's possible that this kind of could be, Life is Strange could be talked about in regards of awards at the end of the year. Maybe not quite Game of the Year, but it could be in there for conversations, because the story in this is really good, and it looks like they're starting to do something even a little bit more adventurous than what Telltale's doing with their games. So there you go, that's my opinions on episode number 2. Like I said, I didn't want to go into any of the story, I don't want to ruin it for you guys. Go and play it and enjoy it, you will not regret it. This is a really good story-based game. If you haven't played the first episode, go and play that as well, and then play this episode. And unless those type of games, Telltale games, aren't for you, I would recommend this to basically nearly everyone, because it's just such a good story, and I can't wait for episode 3. And obviously, as soon as it does come out, I'll be playing it and I'll be reviewing it for you guys as well. But in the meantime, let me know in the comments down below what you think about this episode. Do you agree with me? Has it kind of moved in the right direction versus episode 1? What do you think maybe is going to try and keep it all spoiler free for people that are reading, but how excited are you for episode 3 and everything like that? And if you have enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you can keep up to date with all of our reviews and other game news stories and conversations that we have throughout the week. But for now, thank you very much for watching, everyone, and I will see you all next time.